welcome to Webinars for Power. My name is Kutari, and I'm really excited because today I am talking to the wonderful Nichole McGill-Higgins from the CIPD. Nichole is the chair of Embrace, and Embrace is the staff network serving Black, Asian, and minority ethnic staff. Welcome, Nichole.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for asking and thanks for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Now, I've been a huge fan of yours for a little while now, since we bumped into each other at an event, and I was speaking and you were speaking, and you had a copy of the book, and I just thought, I just love this lady's energy. I love what she's doing with the networks there. And so today I really want to find out a little bit more about you and your journey and why you got involved in networks. So who are you and what makes Nichole tick?
So, as you said, I'm Nichole McGill-Higgins. I work at the CIPD and I'm the co-chair for the Embrace Network, which is a race relations network group at the CIPD. So I also work in the social impact team. So that also has an element of the 9 protected characteristics as well, because it's kind of social mobility. You know, we're trying to help and bring in a better social impact. So I co-lead on the Steps Ahead mentoring program, which is mentoring 18 to 24-year-olds and, parent carers back into work. So what we do is we work with DWP, and then what we try and do is that we have our members from the CIPD who mentor these people back into work. So that's kind of what I do in my day job. And then, as you've rightfully mentioned, I'm also a part of the Embrace group. And what makes me tick? Wow. Good, big question. For me, I'm really passionate. And I think, and I know that word is really overused at the moment, but what makes me tick is equality, is race equality. My thing is around having the equal rights for racism, and especially with the current climate, with everything that's going on, we've got global eyes. Finally, looks like people are listening and actually wanting to deliver on this and make a change. So what really gets me going is trying to be at the forefront, trying to push that agenda and just to try and make it right. And I know that probably sounds really self-righteous, but if you're going to ask what makes me tick, especially even now, is really pushing that narrative. It's a painful one, it's a difficult one, it's a hard journey, but I'm basically in it to win it. And with that, I'm also a trustee for a BME forum in Croydon, which kind of deals with the grassroots and the community. So I'm in a position where I'm seeing it from a corporate perspective, but also seeing it from a community perspective. So for me, that even pushes me to push this agenda even more, because I feel like I've got both sides, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nichole, thanks for that. As the chair or co-chair of a network, we know the highs and lows of running a network. What has been some of your experiences? Because it is tough, it is challenging, we know this, but there are some great highs as well. So I'd love to hear what your experience has been.
So if I go back to why the group started, so I didn't originally found the group. I didn't start the group. It was the policy team. Somebody in the policy team started it. But shortly after it was started, she had to go on mat leave, and hence I took over. And I always tell this part of the story because when I saw the kind of call out for the network was going to start, I was quite annoyed because I was thinking, well, why do we need a race network? What's the point in that? And I was very vocal about it. And funny enough, who became the co-chair with me at the time, we both was like, well, why are we doing this? Why are we concentrating on race? And if you are going to do it, you've got to do it properly, because we all know
absolutely, yeah,
of this topic. So I spoke to the person who started it, and I told her that. And, you know, she said, well, this is the reason why, because they're in policy, they're very external facing, and they realized that staff networks were doing great things in other organizations. Like LGBTQ, for example, and we had an LGBTQ staff network which has done fantastic work, and we've moved up the Stonewall radar and stuff like that. So she was, you know, her idea was to start a race network. So anyway, I wasn't impressed. I was a non-believer, which is shocking. And then when I ended up being co-chair, and I thought, yeah, let's do this. What we wanted to do was that we realized that race was a typical subject, but in being Black, and I wear this badge with pride, you know, it's like I didn't realize the depth probably of in an organization talking about this, because you can talk about friends, you can watch movies, you can do all of those stuff. But in the working environment, there still is a protocol of what you talk about, what you can't talk about. So what we decided that we were going to do a big launch, because fortunately for us, the CIPD has supported that and we had a budget behind us. So we did an internal launch. And what we wanted is that, because we knew that people wouldn't particularly want to get involved, we wanted to kind of be a bit robust, let's say. So what we did is that we've got a logo, what was created by our brands team. So all the staff networks have a logo. So we had the Embrace logo created, and we got big cardboard logos printed. And we literally walked around the whole building, all 4 floors, went to all the head ofs, went to all the people and got them holding it and took pictures saying
Oh,
we embrace.
wow.
So, and then what we did is that we had we're quite fortunate again that we have a canteen where we have lunch put on for us. So we have, lunch inside the building. So we have a really lovely canteen. So for that week, what we did is that we did different foods, basically food from different areas, different countries.
Yeah.
Like Bob Marley's Exodus album playing while people were getting their food. Honestly, being from my parents being Jamaican, I was like, we're going to have like a quiz night, and I insisted on us having rum punch, and it had to be Ray and Nephew. Yeah. So like you do. So we really got people involved. We didn't want it to be this group that's over there in the corner. We wanted the organisation to know that we have and as a part of that launch, we did a talk called Let's Talk Race. And that recording is actually on the CIPD website.
Oh, wow.
So we invited our board members. Peter Cheese is the sponsor for the Embrace Group, who's our CEO. So basically, we wanted to really start the group and get people talking about race. But that was challenging in itself, because when we said, let's talk race, that's what we titled that talk. And honestly, I think it was 12 o'clock start. And I was in the room, a couple of the Embrace people was in the room, a couple of facilities team and Peter. And at 1 minute past 12, that was it. And I looked at Peter and I said, I don't think anyone's going to, I said, do you think anyone's going to turn up? And he's like, I really hope they do. It then became the biggest internal kind of learning session that has ever been.
Oh, wow. Okay.
95 staff members turned up to that. And what I found afterwards is lots of people said, Nichole, I really wanted to ask more questions. I really wanted to get involved, but I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So that was our platform to say, what's the group going to do? How are we going to engage our internal staff to be able to be comfortable and feel in a safe space to be able to talk about race, which is what the group is about. It's about giving visibility, it's about giving awareness, it's about education, and it's about conversation.
Absolutely.
And so some of the challenges have been that people don't want to speak up as much. Getting that buy-in can be a bit difficult as well, because you do have the other protected characteristics. So you do have me's, which I understand. And to be fair, from a race perspective, it is the most difficult one to talk about. Other people don't agree with that, but I have my reasons why I say that, Sharon. And that's because race for me, all the others, you can be of any colour, but you can't be black and white. Well, you can in terms of mixed, of course, but you know what I mean? But you can be black or Asian or ethnic minority, disability or female,
yes.
LGBT.
It crosses all the others. Yeah.
Exactly. So with the others, it's maybe easier, because if you're a white person, your daughter may be LGBT, or you may have a friend who their child is disabled, or so there's then that affiliation and understanding, but they may not have a black, Asian or ethnic minority friend. So affiliation and that relation's not there. So that's one reason. And for me, the main reason why it's difficult is because it's the only protective characteristic where you're blaming another race for the marginalizations and the injustice of what's happening to our race. And with the current times, with the George Floyd impact, as I call it, you can see that, because the defense goes up, the barriers go up. Well, I wasn't a slave owner, or I'm not racist, or I'm not this, but it really gets to the core. And what we remember is racism, discrimination is learnt behaviour, not work behaviour. And we're off network at work. So how do you decode every single individual from their thoughts and beliefs of what they've been taught from birth? So that's the main challenge is getting that narrative across when you've got people in that bubble.
Yeah, and I what you say echoes a lot of what I've heard from other networks, just what I have experienced myself as the chair of a network, representing Black and Asian minority ethnic staff. I can so relate to to this, what do you mean we need a network for staff? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I was approached to lead a network and I was so against the whole concept. I was like, so, oh, do I stop doing my job then to do this? And they're like, no. I said, so how do I do it then? And, oh, you want me to do it in addition to my job? Oh, okay. So is there a money attached to this? No. Oh, so you want me to do it voluntarily? And what?
Great.
I just could not get my head around this concept. Eventually I did, obviously, because I understood that, as you say, that need to talk safely, yes, to talk about things, because we know what can sometimes happen when you share about a microaggression, or, someone has said something and you're thinking, did that just happen? And you doubt yourself, you begin to start doubting yourself, and you need a space where you can talk about these things openly. But my thing with all networks is that let's talk about that, but let's think about how we can find a solution. Because as you say, when we do try to talk about some of those things, the barriers go up, people get defensive, and so on. So we need to find ways of navigating that.
Yeah. And the thing is as well is like, so the initial part is the conversation part, which I call foundation, because, once you have that safe place and that openness and that trust, then things can start to happen. Then then you get to like the next level of serious work, which is, so how do you change that organizational culture? How do you implement that into your processes, whether that be recruitment, whether that be progression, whether that just be training, whether that be compulsory training for line managers or anybody who is recruiting? Do you then, the things that we're looking at is ensuring that when we do have any interviews, that we do have somebody of color on that panel. So it's about push. So that's when it does get difficult, because you have to have the buy-in almost from all of those departments that you're working with.
Absolutely, you do. It's
in
really
those
important.
departments.
Yeah.
So to me, that's quite challenging. So the niceties can be a conversation, but as I always say to people, when I'm talking about race and talking about my lived experiences or what I would like to see happen, this isn't Netflix. This is real life. Seriously, it's
true. It's very, very true.
It's very true. This is not a movie. This is actually happening, and this has to happen. So, especially now with what's happening as well, people are asking, they have reached out, and I've seen the true power of the incredible value of our staff network with this current climate. I think, as it stands, I've spoken to maybe over 40 people now who's actually reached out to me, and of them have started off with, Nichole, I know that you're passionate about the Embrace Group, and other members of the Embrace Group have also said, you want to talk to me? Talk to a Black person. You can go and read White Fragility, of course you can. You can go and read all the books that you want, but have you spoken to somebody of color, to a Black person? So the group is really supporting the organisation with the kind of end racism at work stuff that we're doing, and the CIPD has really grasped that, and they're dealing with it, and they're looking at the importance of it and trying to guide our members and wider businesses who are working in this space. So but it can't. The challenging part is the buy-in, because as you know, people are saying, "Oh, racism doesn't exist." So how do you know that's racist? And you can't just say, "I know," because we do know.
Yeah, it's the doubt, isn't it? It's this. It has to be provable. You have to prove that it was this, and that's what's causing the real challenge. But Nichole, let me ask you this. We've given this current climate that we find ourselves in, and of course, it's wonderful that organizations are making statements around Black Lives Matter. They're making these declarations. They're talking to, BAME networks have never been so popular, which is wonderful. Of course it is. But here's my concern, and I'm keen to get your thoughts. What happens when the next thing comes in? How do we make sure, or how can we make sure that this sense, this feeling that has galvanized people doesn't go away, so that race and doesn't start to slip down the agenda?
And that's my worry too. I've kind of I have crazy analogies. Anyone who knows me will tell you that. And for me, it's like I feel that door has cracked open. Much to our frustrations, because I had to say to a group of people the other day, I have a PhD in race because I just happen to be black. So I understand that I kind of understand that you guys are kind of at basic school level, nursery level. So my patience has to, because we're like, yes, we need to talk about this. We need to keep momentum. But we also have to understand that some people, it has just literally slapped them in the face and they are like, they're shook.
Yes, yeah, they are. It's a whole new world for them. It really is.
And it's difficult not to look at them and say, really? but we breathe. I do my woosahs and I'm like, okay, Nichole, let's not, it's not about that. It's not about gloating. It's not about having a chip. It's not about saying, I told you so. It's actually about, as I say, conversations and education at the moment. So now that door has opened, for me, it's about kicking that door off, shredding it and removing the hinges. We have a small window to do it because the world is now coming out of lockdown. People are going back to ordinary lives. This happened in a time when most people or everybody was at home. You couldn't escape it. You couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's why I think there's that intensity. And obviously, 8 minutes and 47 seconds watching somebody die was horrendous. So there's a lot of why this has been the way that it's had the impact. But to keep the momentum going is to get those conversations and those strategies and those ideas in place now. What are we to do now? And I would say try and have a projection and a forecast to say, so this is what we're going to do in the next 18 months. That way you're planting that seed and that seed has to actually grow. Sorry, my batch. Sorry, just plugging this in. That seed has a chance to take sets. Sorry guys, I've just literally, my battery was dying. So it has a chance to actually grow and take
So start the planning now for the next 18 months or so and keep revisiting that so that it doesn't slip down the agenda and doesn't become yesterday's news, because it's still ongoing, it's still present, and when you've looked over to the next shiny thing over there, it's still going to be impacting black people,
exactly
as it has done. So let me ask you this, because I'm really
pause it there, pause it right there.
Thanks for that, Nichole. You know what? I'm always curious to hear what you would say to other chairs. So imagine there's a new chair watching this. Thanks for this, Nichole. I really liked what you had to say just now. So I've got a couple more questions. The first one I want to ask you is this. You speak passionately about, some of the challenges that you face and the difficulties in really having some conversations and just the general mechanics of running a network and all that brings. So what advice would you give to someone who's watching this, who's just started on their network journey as a chair or co-chair? What tips would you share with them to help them carry through their tenure as a chair?
I would say it's really, really important for you to have those meetings with the people that's in the group. Be inclusive in the group as well. If you're, regardless of the network that you're chairing, you need your allies within the group. So we have a mixture of black and white within the network. So don't exclude anyone. Try and be on the same page, because you have to remember you've got a group of people who are passionate about doing this. So it's really important that you take everyone's ideas on board and be democratic, have votes. We vote on ideas and how we want to do things and what's the best way to do it. So that's from the actual group perspective. And the other thing is be bold, be strong, and be honest with the organization. Be transparent. So when you choose a sponsor per se, let the sponsor know what their responsibilities are, what your responsibilities will be to that sponsor, and how you're going to move forward. So for me, and there are times that you're going to think, should I say this? Can I say this? If you want to have change, you've got to be strong and bold, and you've got to push boundaries. Listen to your colleagues as well. Don't just have conversations with your network, because you're preaching to the converted. They're in there because they know and they want to make change. So seek out those people. There's certain people that may not say a lot, and have those conversations. I mean, at the moment, every meeting that I have, that people will say to me, how are you? And it's really funny because I'll be like, good days, bad days. And they'll be like, yeah, lockdown's really tough. And I'm like, not really lockdown, George Floyd. I just kind of correct them there. And then then they do get a little bit uncomfortable. And then I say back to them, has this impacted you in any way? If it has, are you having conversations in your groups? And most of the people I'm speaking to are white, but I ask the question back. So it seems normal almost because to broach it with me. So at the end of the day, we are really fighting for human rights. We're fighting for a level playing field. We don't want handouts. We don't want to be treated better than anybody else. You know, civil rights. Imagine Martin Luther King was fighting just to be civil, just civil. You know, so I would say, when you're doing the network, you are going to have your challenges, you are going to have your down days, your up days. And your book, actually, when I was reading that part of the book that says the emotions that you're going to go through, I think I had all of them. There was every single, and I didn't know about your book when I started the network. So for me, anybody listening to this, you have to get that book. It's your Bible. It will help you. It will make you feel like you have a friend in paper, or wherever you get it. You've got to get that book, because there isn't anything else out there that tells you how to do this. And it's, so I would say, one, get that resource, and two, be transparent, be honest, and because the organization wants it and you're doing it on a voluntary basis. If they say they really want it, then that's it. Do it. That's what I would say.
Great advice, and thank you for your kind words about the book. The emotions that I speak about are emotions that I was going through, and I thought, this can't be normal. I just felt constantly that I was messing up, because I just couldn't understand how on one day I felt that I could conquer the world, and on the other day I just wanted to crouch down in the corner weeping, like, why am I doing this? You know, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, and so I included those things to just reassure network chairs that if you're feeling like this, it's all right, it's natural.
100. I have come home in tears. I've been angry. Why am I doing this? No one cares. You know, I've had my friends say, Nick, you're not Malcolm X. Yeah. You know, I've had so many, like, with my personal life, because everyone knows what embrace is in my world. Everyone knows.
Yes.
Because it's not my day job. But like you've so rightfully said, if you are going through those emotions, you're doing something right.
That's it.
Just how we say, I mean, I will say to white people when we're talking about race, push through your uncomfortability, push through your white guilt, push through whatever you're feeling, because we have to hear your voice too. We're not preaching a sermon here. We need that dialogue. It's a two-way conversation. So when you're going through these emotions, when you're chairing or a part of any of these groups, push through that emotion. And sometimes I will have to talk to someone in the group and say, oh, that meeting, there wasn't this. And then we bounce off each other. So build that team, build that common alliance. And those emotions, like you say, they are real. But it means that you're passionate and it's working. If you don't feel that, you need to check yourself.
Very wise, very true. And I loved what you said about talking to other groups of people who aren't necessarily, you know, the target group that you're representing. You know, having a wide understanding of the views of stakeholders and how they can support the network, or why they don't support the network, and understanding what that is. I mean, I do say to a lot of networks, you know, do you do a stakeholder map? Do you know who your stakeholders are? And they just look at me like, You know, some do, but majority of them have no clue what I'm talking about. And the point I'm trying to make is, in order to gain even more traction than you may have got, you need to understand how people perceive the network. It could be that people just don't know about it, or they just ruled it out because they've seen the word Black network and it's not for me, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But having a stakeholder map and knowing how to approach different groups of people to share what the network does is so important. Really,
it is. And the other thing I would say as well is that if there's any other networks within your organization, collaborate with them too. Because going back to what I've just said is that I'm not just Black, I'm a Black female. I'm dyslexic, you know. So there's that intersectionality, which is a word, which is a terminology that's been around for a while. Funny enough, I was quite surprised. But so you know, you have strength in unity. So it's not we're the Black group, your disability. No, talk and do things together and collaborate. And we collaborate very closely with the LGBTQ group. And the bottom line is, yes, they're different groups, but the feelings and the microaggressions and some of the things that we go through are exactly the same, because it's back to being human and just that feel of unjust and this isn't right. So I would also say collaborate. I mean, ideally, it's a shame that we have to have these different pillars of groups, because for me, it's well-being. Because if it's just bannered under well-being, then you're dealing with human beings, aren't you? Because you're dealing with the well-being of people. And in that, I could then say, well, because I'm a woman, I feel this way and it's affecting my well-being. Because I'm LGBTQ, or because I'm disabled, or because of my religion, I'm being prosecuted. But it's all the well-being, it's all around how you feel as a human, and how that discrimination and injustice and that feeling of not being wanted or because you're different. So for me, it sits under well-being. All of them sit under well-being. But so you don't get that typical kind of sound off, who's more important than the other, collaborate, talk to each other, go to each other's meetings.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm always encouraged. I always say to networks that you are each other's ally. And it's really important when you pull your resources together, you can do so much more. I understand that people have their narrative and they have some of the things that they need to talk about themselves. I understand that. But at the end of the day, as you say, there is a common thread that goes through across all networks. And that's about, raising the voice, talking about the challenges, what it's like to be in a minority group, and the things that you have to encounter on a regular basis. All of that comes to the fore, regardless of the network that you're serving. So thank you for highlighting that. And we spoke a little bit about, speaking with other people in the organization and allies and so on. So what's your message? If you had to give one message to sponsors, for example, and one message to allies, what would that message be?
So to sponsors, I would say, don't do this as a tick box exercise. Get involved in your networks, turn up to their meetings. I mean, if you normally, what people tend to do, or networks have tend to do, and the ones that I've spoken to, is that a lot of their sponsors are people of influence in the organization. So let them use that influence. So for example, if we're having anything, Peter will send a message and encourage everybody to attend what we're doing. When he goes out and he speaks at events, he speaks about the Embrace Group and the work that we're doing. He's endorsed what we're doing. So for example, if the group decides that you're going to choose between 3 sponsors, decide on who those people are and ask them the same questions in terms of what is your accountability going to be? Why are you doing this? What does this look like? What do you think we should be doing? Just ensure that they are the right person, and the sponsor, don't take it on just for the sake of. Do it because you know it's the right thing to do, and because you've got the time and the passion to support that group. It's about the support.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And my message to allies would be, you don't have to be of that particular protective characteristic group to be in the group. And again, be open to learn. Don't just say, so you can put it on your CV somewhere, I was a part of the Black group, or I was a part, no. Be active and also have your voice in there, because the thing is that lots of allies, they will say, well, I don't really want to say anything because, I'm white. What do I know? What do you mean, what do you know? You're in a part of a group. It's a team, and you work together. So if you're going to be an ally, it's not a matter of just sitting there and listen. Be an active ally. Be proactive. Bring something to the table, because we work better as a team. So and get involved. And if you're curious, get involved. Just be, and there's so much stuff around allyships at the moment, which is fantastic, actually, and tells people how to be good allies and the things to think about. But I would say, as an ally, speak to one of the chairs and ask them, what is the group about? Get an idea to make sure that this is something you want to be a part of, and you're not just sitting there doing nothing, that you really make that change, and you are championing this cause. So that would be my messages.
Wonderful messages, and very, very important ones. Nichole, thank you so much. We have covered quite a bit in a very short space of time. And I want to say thank you for not just coming on the webinars for Power, but just to say thank you for being such a great example of network leadership where you are. I know it's been a bit of a journey, but you seem to be turning a corner, and you've got some great support where you are. And I know there's still more work to do, but
and
to you.
Thank you. And you asked me beforehand, like, what's my favorite quote? And I thought about that. But there's something my husband always says, I don't know where he got it from, and he can't remember. And I have it on the signature of my email, and I just thought it's quite fitting for what we're doing. And it's a fool criticizes unfinished work.
Say that again.
Only a fool criticizes unfinished work. So
I
to
have never heard of that.
I know, and he's, and it's true, because these, people can criticize you as you're going along, but we're not done.
We're not done.
We're not
Very
done.
true.
Like sometimes when you're getting your hair done and you think, what they're doing, wait till it finishes. Just wait.
Okay, so that's a tip, Networks chairs. If ever you're in doubt, just, imagine you're on the hairdressers and wait till it's done. You're not finished yet. You've still got way to go. I'm joking. But Nichole, that's great. What a great quote. And it's very, very salient for network chairs, because we do criticize, don't we? We do go, we internalize things and we take it on board. And it's so important that you don't do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't reflect. Of course, we do need to reflect. But there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much you can control.
Yeah, and sorry, just before we finish, and also one thing I wanted to say is that when you're trying to push this narrative, it's very difficult. And I always say this: I don't get up and wonder what it's like to be in a wheelchair or to wear a hijab. Why would somebody get up and wonder what it's like to be black? So you have to also remember that, yes, this is a big agenda, but with people, always take it back to people and person's emotions, and then to me, you will move mountains.
Yeah. What great words to end on. Nichole, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed your time on Webinars for Power.
I have.
I will make sure that you get the link to this. And for those
you.
of you who are watching, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed it. Send us your comments. You can tweet at Power of Staff Networks, so POS Networks, or you can drop us an email, info@thepowerofstaffnetworks.co.uk. But we look forward to hearing from you. And Nichole, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And remember, networks, let's always remember to tap into our power. See you soon. Bye.